We're looking at utilizing online digital resources for note-taking and information gathering. This is especially helpful as we think of the ways that our students are going to take in information. We want to help them develop some very key skills. One of those key skills is being able to summarize information and take notes of what's important, being able to identify important factual information that's going to support whatever we're trying to communicate or even learn about. So obviously there's big picture research projects that can support this. There's different ways that we can assess students' notes by giving them different organizers and working through different note taking tasks. There's some, like when we think about the digital citizenship integration, we're really thinking about being able to identify what's a high quality source versus maybe opinion and things like that, but also being able to cite our sources to respect intellectual property. So uh, this focuses on some of these common core skills of being able to conduct short research projects and then draw on information from multiple print or digital sources and then quote accurately from a text. So, one way that we can do this very frequently is doing short little research rounds. These could be just weekly things where you allow students some opportunity to explore topics, whether that's before a unit or during a unit, or perhaps you have a time where they're able to explore their questions, or maybe there's been some good questions and you want them to explore a little bit further beyond just what the textbook has. So you could provide them with some of those sources so that they can read that information. We want them to be able to take in information not just from print, like in our textbooks, but from other sources as well to answer their key questions. So, some ways that you might support this are some different organizers. So, this one is called the Key Idea Collector. And on this, they might be going to a website or a video. They might have a question that they're trying to answer or a topic that they're trying to learn about. And they want to identify the main idea or important point from this source. So they're not necessarily just gathering facts, but they're trying to figure out what is this source, this article, this video, what is it trying to communicate? And then what are 2 to 3 important details or facts that support this idea? So, not just facts that, like, oh, this is something that happens, but what did I actually read or learn from this video that supports that main information that this source is talking about? And then maybe they take some new questions or thinking. Maybe they write down some things that they have learned from this or some things that they still wonder. Another example is the evidence and connection guide, where maybe you have another guiding research question. This is a question that we're trying to answer, and we can find evidence that helps answer that question. So, whether that's facts, details, or quotes. So, maybe I want to find out how many stars are in the galaxy, or what's the average temperature. I don't know, just things like that, right? Like I can find facts from different websites that would help me answer that question. How does this evidence help answer my question, or what new connections can I make? So for example, like let's say that we found out something about, oh, there's a trillion stars in this galaxy. uh, well, how does that help me answer my big research question of how big is our galaxy? Well, now I actually have to take that information and think about it a little bit more. It's not that I just wrote it down, but now I have to actually understand it and make connections in my own mind. So, those are some organizers that could help you do some note taking with your students. Another great way to do this is through the Cyber Sandwich activity from the EduProtocols. So usually in the Cyber Sandwich activity, we're going to be comparing and contrasting things, which is also a great way to take in information and to utilize it and to be able to think about it a bit more before we go into summaries. So to start this activity, you would probably choose something very easy, something kind of low stakes, not a lot of learning, because we're focusing on the actual skills of comparing and contrasting and writing, and we're not worried about the content just yet. But as we develop the skill, then we can bring in our own content. So here's some examples that they give of some content that you might choose. Um, we'll look at we'll look at an example right here, but they're going to research topic one while another student does the topic two. So you're looking at, in their example, someone's going to look at modern day news and do some research. Someone's going to look at 19th century news and do some research. Okay, after they do that, they're going to discuss with each other. They're going to identify some differences that they have and similarities, and then they're going to summarize this information. So, an example of this might look like this. So, we have our student one notes, student two notes. So, they're working on their article, their video that's focused on their topic. They're going to write down their notes. Maybe they take in some key quotes or data. And then they're going to go here. Okay, so they're going to they're going to share some of their information. Okay, what are some things that are specific to my 19th century news? We're going to write that stuff down. What are some things that are specific to modern day news? We're going to write that down. What are some things that are in common with both of our things? We're going to write that down. Then each student is going to take their notes and they're going to do a summary paragraph. So this is a great activity that once the foundational skills of taking in the important information and writing and comparing and contrasting, once that's been done and built upon, now you could start doing your content. And now we're working on higher level thinking. We're doing activities that lead to increased student achievement based on Marzano's research, and we're integrating our content. So we're developing strong writers as we continue to learn and maybe even dive into some of the content that we're teaching.